garden friends. I wanted to do a quick comparison of the corn seed that I started indoors and then transplanted outdoors, and the corn that I actually directly sowed in the ground right next to it, just to see how germination would do. I started the corn indoors in April. The specific date I'll put in the description below. And then I think it was a week or two ago, so that would have been mid to late May, I came out and sowed the exact same kind of corn in the ground right next to it. So I wanted to show you how the plants look that I started indoors versus the ones that I directly sowed in the ground when you would normally sow them in late May in Southwest Michigan, just so you can get a comparison of why it might behoove you to start your corn indoors for the next season. So this is the corn that I started indoors. Again, I believe it was in late April or early May. I will put the specific date in the description. And this stuff looks amazing. We've already got really thick stalks. It's big enough for these bean plants that I transplanted out here a week or so ago to start trellising on them as they grow. You can see the winter squash that I've interplanted in here taking off really nicely. I'm already starting to get some vines. And all of this growth you're seeing was started in my house in May. So these plants look awesome. They look really healthy. Their growth has been just amazing. And I really am so glad that I decided to start all these things indoors, even though it's generally not recommended for these three different plants: corn, bean, and squash. This garden looks awesome. Now the squash you see here was also started indoors with this squash and transplanted out at the same time. But I had ran out of the corn that I started. So what I did is I came back when we were far surpassed our frost date, when the ground was warmer, and I planted some seed in here in the same way that I planted in this garden over here. Now some of this is a little shoots of grass that are trying to come in, so I want to make sure you can see the difference here. But here's the corn that I started from seed a week ago. It is germinating, although I'm seeing about 1 in every 3 and sometimes 1 in every 2 seeds have germinated. So here in this quadrant, this was a quadrant of 4, I've got 2 seeds that have germinated. In this quadrant, I've got 3. I actually just put this in the ground. This is some seed I started indoors late. So this one was not planted out here. But here's 3 in a quadrant that have started. I have 1 out of 4 in this square, and I'm seeing none back here. None in this space. This is all grass. None in this space. Let's see, I don't have any here. Here's 1. No, this is one that I just planted on my own. None here. So no corn in here. Okay, here I have 2 that have germinated out of the 4. So again, I'm seeing a lot of 2 out of 4, if none at all. Yeah, so not very good germination. And the fact that these that did germinate are already about 1 inch to 1.5 inches tall. The other ones, if they were to germinate, should have already germinated. I will keep an eye on them, but at this point, I'm going to say they probably aren't going to germinate. Now, the seeds that I started indoors, I had almost 100% germination. I might have had 1 or 2 cells that didn't germinate. But in this case, I'm seeing like 50%, if not less, germination by starting them outside. And now, because they're out in the ground, I don't have my eyes on them as much as I did when they were in the house, where I could have started a seed the minute I could tell that one wasn't going to germinate. So actually, as it turns out, I actually had some random popcorn seed start. It had gotten mixed in my seed starting mix. And so it actually sprouted on its own in another tray where I was starting something else. So I'm going to transplant that out here in these places where these holes are, since this is all popcorn seed. And I'll keep an eye on the areas where I planted them. But this is exactly why I've chosen to start the seed inside, because I get so much better germination. Clearly, I get a much better head start on the season. And it was just so easy to do. It was so easy to start inside. It was so easy to transplant out. And now I have this beautiful corn growing in my garden. So far, I'm seeing that starting it indoors was a much better choice than actually starting it directly in the ground, as I've shown you in this garden next to it. So I'm going to continue planting this corn here that I started inside. And I will continue to keep you updated as the season wears on. If you've enjoyed this video and this video series, Consider subscribing below and sharing this video with someone who might be interested. As always, I'm Landon Gilfillan with Pepper and Pine Garden Design, growing gardeners and their gardens, and I'll see you in the next video.